Welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. On today's episode, I want to show you my typical workflow: Lightroom to Photoshop to Topaz or Luminar. I'm not using Luminar today or Nik software, but I'm just using Topaz. I got some really cool things I want to show you today, especially how to get a really nice soft background using Mask AI inside of Topaz Studio too. You're going to really enjoy that. I'm going to be launching Mask AI as a plugin inside of Topaz Studio too. Hey, and also in the description below, I have an affiliate link for Topaz software. If you're interested in any Topaz software, just click that affiliate link below and use my coupon code at checkout, David Kelly, and you'll save 15% off any Topaz software that you purchase. It helps me out. I get a small commission. It helps me keep my channel coming to you. So let's get into this right now, and I'm going to show you my workflow. I shot this at ISO 500 with a 70mm lens at f2.8 because I was going for a shallow depth of field and 1/1250th of a second, which is a really fast shutter speed. And the reason I have that fast shutter speed is because I have a wide open lens here at f2.8. I could have bumped this ISO down to ISO 100, but no big deal because I'm going to run DeNoise AI on this. Okay. But I always like to make sure I have my lens corrections on in Lightroom, like remove chromatic aberrations and enable profile corrections, and it'll pick my lens. And as you can see, it did a really made a massive difference right there. And this is a good Canon L lens, by the way, too. But I'll shut this off and turn it back on. But you can see there's some distortion there and some vignetting, and that fixed that. I'm going to add vignetting later to this, but that's okay. I like to start out with everything at a good place. Now I have some clipping here on the high ends, or on the highlights here. You can see when I hover over the clipping indicator, you see the red areas. Those are highlights being clipped. And I even have some shadows being clipped here. So let's go to basic, and here's what I like to do is click auto and let the Adobe Sensei do its automatic calculations, and it usually does a pretty good job. It didn't get rid of my clipping, so I'm just going to pull my whites back until that clipping goes away, like there. And I don't mind a little bit of clipping in the blacks. I think that looks pretty good, but I might just pull that up to the right a little bit and just ease off on that clipping. Not too much, but I don't mind a little bit of clipping there. That's okay because it looks nice for the contrast. And this is the settings that Adobe has picked. The exposure, I might bump that exposure up a little bit. I think it's a little dark, so let me just add a little extra exposure, not much. And then when I do that, I get my clipping back, so I'm just going to play around here. Now I can see if I can pull my highlights back. Yeah, if I pull my highlights back just a little bit, I get rid of the clipping. That looks good. Not going to mess with texture or clarity or dehaze. Everything looks good. I'm going to leave the vibrance and saturation set just the way it is. On my detail, I'm going to make sure my sharpening is shut off. And I have my noise reduction off. And now let me zoom into the face here. As you can see, this image is a little bit soft. So I'm going to use Sharpen AI to fix that problem right there. And I love Sharpen AI for fixing these kind of issues here. Next thing I'm going to do is right click and edit in Photoshop 2020. And I'll show you where we go from there. First thing I want to do is get rid of some noise here. I'm going to duplicate the background layer, Command or Control J to duplicate it to work non-destructively. And we're just going to come up to Filter, and I'm going to come to Topaz Labs and go to the wonderful DeNoise AI. I could have went to Topaz Studio 2 and used AI Clear. It would have been fine on this image as well. In fact, even on DeNoise here. Oh, by the way, there is a new update here. I'm not going to do it right now because we're in the midst of a video. I'll do that later. I'm going to use the AI Clear model instead of the DeNoise AI model. I usually use AI Clear if it's just a low ISO image, which this one is. And if I drag this line across here, can you see the noise in there? It's not a whole lot of noise, but there's a little bit of noise in there. But look at the earring on. This is my wife and grandson here. But look at my wife's earring, gets really sharp right there. So that's really cool. So it's doing a really nice job. That's actually on DeNoise AI. I'm going to click on AI Clear and make sure I have auto detect settings turned on and see what it does. Now let's drag it across. Yeah, and look at the earring too. Yeah, does a nice job right there. So I do like the AI clear. Remove noise is on high. I could probably put that on. Let's try it on medium and see what it looks like. Because it was a low ISO image. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it on. I think medium is all I really need here. And enhanced sharpness, I'm going to leave it on low because I'm going to use Sharpen AI to get rid of some of the soft focus on the faces here. Let's let this render out real quick, and you'll see. Let me wipe this over my wife's eyes here. See, it's a little soft there, right? But you'll see what Sharpen AI does to eliminate that problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Apply here and apply this adjustment. It renders out really quick if I would click Apply. I guess my mouse click didn't take there. Okay, and this is real-time rendering right here. As you can see, it's pretty darn quick. And there it is back in Photoshop. Now, I could duplicate the background layer here. I think that's redundant at this point because I'm just going to run some sharpening on here. Let me zoom in again to the face so you can really see what I'm looking at here. So there's our face right there. As you can see, it's a little bit soft, but we're going to use Sharpen AI to see if we can fix that. So we're going to come back up to Filter. We're going to go to Topaz Labs again, and this time Topaz Sharpen AI. Pulling out all my Topaz software on this particular image. And let me just drag down so we can see the face here. I'm just going to take this. Now, I always leave this, my view set for the split view. I really like it here. But I'm just going to take this and drag this across so you can see the after right here. Okay, so this is in the Sharpen model here, and I really like the stabilized model. It kind of works for me really well. So I'm going to go ahead and, because I have this little softness in the eyes here and the face, so because I'm not the greatest focuser sometimes on my camera, okay? So I'm going to click this on stabilize, and I may have moved the camera a little bit, but I was shooting at a really fast shutter speed, so that might not have been the issue. But I love stabilize, and if this works, I'm not even going to focus because I have a hunch it's going to work. So let's see what we get here. And I'm in the manual setting right now. But look at that, man. That cleaned it right up. I'm not even going to do auto. I'm just going to take the sharpness and drag it back a little bit to the left. And let's see what that does here. It was a little too sharp, I thought. See what this does. Yeah, that looks really nice. It looks good everywhere, I think. And I might just take the noise suppression and maybe take this the whole way off because I already used noise suppression, so there's no need for extra noise suppression in here. Okay, and see what we get. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm just going to go ahead and click Apply. I will fast forward this because this takes a little longer. It's probably going to take about 30-40 seconds to render out. It's not bad at all. Here we are back in Photoshop with our Sharpen AI applied. Let me go ahead and shut this layer 1 eye off here and look at the original. Look how soft that is. Okay, so just study that for a second or two. Now I'm going to turn it on and study it for a second or two again, but look how much sharper that is. That is truly amazing. All right, now let me go ahead and zoom back out because I was zoomed way into the image because that is the actual image right there. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do, now I do want to duplicate my background layer because I'm going to send this into Topaz Studio 2. So it's Command or Control J to work non-destructively. So we come up here to Filter and I'm going to launch Topaz Studio 2. And inside of Topaz Studio 2, I'm going to use Mask AI because I like the shallow depth of field here, but I'd like to make this a little softer. So I'm going to use a really cool feature inside of Mask AI where we can blur the background, which is really cool. So let me come up here to Filters and go to Plugins, and let's go to Mask AI. And I'll show you how to make a nice blurry background on your image. Or at least to take a background that's already blurry and add a little extra blur to it. Now let's come over here to see where it says Auto Detect Subjects. Let's give that a click because I think it's going to do a really good job detecting our subject. And yeah, it did. And so I'm in the AI mask mode. I'm just going to click Compute Mask. It's going to compute that mask pretty fast. And wait for it, people. it will be done here very, very shortly. It's done now. Okay. Now we got our mask, we got our background cut out, our subjects are selected. Let's click on background and let's click on blur, and you're gonna love this. Isn't that cool? Now that's too much blur. Let's zoom into our people here, my lovely wife and grandson Max. Okay, and look at the job it did cutting that out. It did a really, really fine job there. Now I think it's a little too blurry, so let's just take the blur strength back a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to go that blurry, but maybe somewhere right around in there. Okay. Look, yeah, that's nice and soft back in there. I think that's going to be good. And, oh, here's a cool feature. Let's go to a single view here now. Now, we see the tri-map here. No big deal. You can shut the tri-map off. But let's go to, click the little apple and go to keep so we can see our blurred background here. Here's a cool feature though. If I want to darken the background, check this out. I can just take this exposure and pull it back a little bit. Isn't that cool? And then just bring my wife and Max out to the foreground. They just push out a little bit. So I might just do that. I might just darken that up just a little bit. Oh man, that looks really nice. I love this feature. Okay, and let me just zoom in and make sure everything looks good on the mask. The hair and everything looks good. Yeah, let me just look at the hands and everything. I'm happy with that. Hopefully I haven't, you know, I hope I did a nice job rendering it out here. Or Topaz Mask AI, you did a great job. I'm not even going to mess with it anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and click apply, and that'll bring us right back into Topaz Studio 2. After I click, I don't want to click transparent. This gives me a choice because remember I added a background. I just want to click composite. And as soon as I click composite, it sends it back into Topaz Studio 2 with the blurred background. Isn't that cool? So let's shut the eyeball off of Mask AI output. Here's the before, which is cool, nice soft depth of field, but why not have a little extra softness back there? I absolutely love that. We're almost done. The only thing I think I want to do, and I wrote a couple notes down here, I want to lighten the faces up a little bit, and I want to lighten the eyes up for sure. So let's go ahead and click Add Filter. Let's get a basic adjustment. Okay, a basic adjustment. And what I'm going to do here is just take the exposure and bump up the exposure on the entire image right around there. And then I'm going to come up to the layer mask right here, click it, and get a brush. And I'm going to invert this layer mask. See the three dots right here? Click on that and invert it so the mask, or so the adjustment goes away. We have a hide all layer mask. Click on brush, and I'm going to leave the edge aware on. I'm going to take the transparency, drag it the whole way to the right, so I have a white paint swatch right here. And what I'm going to do is make sure my radius is good, and I think that's a good radius size. I might just make it a little bit smaller by dragging the radius to the left a little bit. Nice, and I have softness at around 50, which is where I like to work. And I'm just going to paint over the areas I want to lighten. Not everywhere, like not in the neck area of my wife, but on her hair. Here it looks pretty good, and definitely over her face. Yeah, it just lightens it up a little bit. And little Max here. Hey, little Max, how you doing, buddy? I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while. One of these days we'll get down there and see you. Max lives down in Philadelphia, and I'm up here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or Monroeville, PA. But look at that. Isn't that cool? Now I can come back here to click on basic, or actually click on the basic adjustment layer here, and my adjustment comes back up. Now I can just come here and, you know, I can brighten them up some more if I want to. And I might brighten them up just a little bit more, maybe right around there. I think that looks pretty good. And I didn't brighten their hands or their clothes because I want your eyes to go into their face. And actually, I think the eyes look pretty good. If I wanted to add a little bit more brightness to the eyes, I'm going to teach you a little trick here. Go to Add Filter. You can pretty much add any filter that doesn't apply an adjustment. I usually like to use curves, so I'm going to click on curves. I'm not going to do anything with curves. I'm going to change the blend mode to screen, which will lighten my entire image up. And then I'm going to come up to the layer mask here. I almost forgot what I was doing. I'm going to invert the layer mask again. So I come down to the layer mask with the three dots, click it, and invert it. And now what I want to do is just zoom in a little bit and get a brush. You guessed it. And I'm going to take the transparency. Now Max's eyes are a little bit lighter than my wife Nancy's eyes, so I'm going to work on Nancy's eyes first with the transparency up full. And I'm going to make this brush radius kind of small here. Yeah, I'm pretty small. I'm somewhere around there. And I'm just going to come up here and just paint over her eye right there. I'm going to paint over this eye right here. And now I'm going to take the transparency and drag it the whole way to the left because I'm sure I painted onto the flesh here. And I don't want that. And I might make sure I didn't get on the whites of the eye there because I don't want the white of the eye to get too bright in there. Mainly want her eyes to come up a little bit. Maybe somewhere right around in there. Now I think that's a little bit too light, but what I'm going to do is try to match Max's eyes up to that level. So what I'm going to do is take the transparency, and you'll see what I'm doing here in a second. I'm going to take the transparency, move it a little bit to the right, so it's kind of a gray type color here. And again, I'm going to paint over Max's eye right there. Paint over this eye a little bit. And again, now I'm going to go to solid black and make sure I didn't overshoot onto the skin type area right here. And if I got too much in the white of his eye there, I'm just going to make sure I got that. And I'm just going to erase around the eye there a little bit. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to zoom out. And I think their eyes are matching pretty good, but I think they're a little nuclear, right? So what I'm going to do is just take the opacity, take it the whole way off. And now I'm just going to slowly build it up a little bit. I don't need too much here because I don't want it to look unnatural. So maybe right around, 37 right around there. Let's click this eye right here. Here's the before and here's the after. Just let those eyes lighten up a little bit right there. I think that looks really good. Now let's go ahead and save this out back into Photoshop. So just come up here to accept and give that a click, and that'll send us back into Photoshop. And here, let's click this eye. So here is the before and here's the after. Nice job, Topaz Studio and Mask AI. All done inside of Topaz Studio, by the way. Now I just want to add a little bit of a vignette to this image. I'm going to show you a cool way to do it in Photoshop. So all we need to do is get a lasso tool, and you can type L on your keyboard to get up your lasso tool. And I'm just going to draw a just a rough selection around my wife and little Max here. Kind of what I would say like an organic shape, like so. And then we're going to come down here to the adjustment layers and get any old adjustment layer you want. I'm just going to use curves because that's usually the one I use just by default for me. So I'm going to click on curves, and little trick here is to come to the blend mode where it says normal and change it to multiply. Now it's the opposite of what we want. My layer mask is already selected, so I'm just going to type Command or Control I and invert the layer mask, okay? And then come up to the layer mask property. See this little white area with the circle cut out in the middle? Click on that and just adjust your feathering. Just drag this to the right and watch how this feathers out. Isn't that cool? So I'm adding, a nice graduation between there. I'm adding a nice vignette on there, and that's too strong. So now what I'm going to do is take the opacity, drag it the whole way off, and just slowly drag it up a little bit to the right. Just to darken that background a little bit more, leaving a little lighter area around my wife and Max. So here's the before and here's the after. So just a little bit of a vignette. And now when we're all said and done, here's my workflow. What I like to do is, if I'm happy with this, I'm just going to right click here on Curves 1 and say flatten image, which is right down here. I'm going to click on flatten image and that flattens it. If I wasn't happy with it, or if I wanted to do more editing, I would just take it, I would save it out with the layers. Okay, but in my case, I'm done with the image. So what I'll do is just come up here to File and click Save, or I could do a Command S or a Control S and save it. And that'll save it. And now I just want to show you, I'm going to go back over to Lightroom, and you'll see my image is right here. So here's my image that I made. Let me turn my lights out. I'm going to type my L key. And so there you go. My wife and Max with a nice soft background, and I really think this image came out great. You just saw my typical workflow, starting out in Lightroom, going into Photoshop, and then launching out into like Topaz or Luminar or nick software from there, okay? And this is really the way I like to work. So hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. If you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. And also, don't forget, I have my affiliate link for Topaz software below. If you click on that link and at checkout use my coupon code David Kelly, you'll save 15% off of Topaz software, which is a really nice savings. And it helps me out, and I get a small commission, helps me keep my YouTube channel coming at you. And I love doing this, and I hope you're enjoying these videos. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today on The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time, but until then, happy editing.